And you were talking about the Olympics earlier. Last year was insane. I have never seen Paris like this my whole life.
I loved it.
I loved it.
I'm so proud of all the Parisians, first of all. They were incredible. They were so welcoming to everybody. I loved...
Even the cops were nice. I was shocked. I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, this is not normal. This is not the France I know.
It was really sweet. But obviously there was going to be a whole bunch of French Parisians who were like, I am absolutely leaving for...
I was one of those initially. I swear to you, for 6 months, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be such a mess.
Yeah.
So full of people, and transport's going to be a disaster. Yeah. And like, I have to get out, I have to get out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Chill Chats with Sid Gandhi. I'm your host, Sid Gandhi, and today I'm going to be talking with an incredible person, and this is one of the episodes that I'm having for the series Chats with Expats. Lise is not an expat. She is a French person. She is a Parisian who has played a massive role in the expat community in France. So I'm very, very happy to have her. Over the course of the last 7.5 years, Lise has organized weekly events for people to meet up in Paris. And these events are targeted primarily towards expats or internationals, but obviously French people also come there quite often. And through the course of these events over the last 7.5 years, the amount of impact I'm sure she's had must have been ridiculous, because I have known her for the last 1 year. And through her, I've met so many people, and I've built so many connections, and they've helped me with my projects and such. And I know for a fact that there are people out there in Paris today who are not only married because of an event, but have children, have built their own professional lives, have built communities around the people they met when they were at Lisa's events. So she is somebody who is an incredible pillar to the community, the expat community. And I feel like some episodes just deserve to be put up because some people deserve to be celebrated, you know? And I think Lise is one of those people. Lise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What a nice intro.
Yeah, thank you. I really prepared that. My God, I had a whole bunch of things to say about you, and I had to kind of condense it. But I meant every word of it.
I know you did.
Yeah. So Lise, tell me a little bit about these events. What are they? What exactly are you kind of doing, and how do these events work?
Okay, so these events are essentially working off the back of a platform called Couchsurfing. Okay. That was like the base of it. Couchsurfing is really a website about connecting people throughout the world when they're traveling, when they're expatriating, when they move to a new place, or when they're just passing through for a few days, doesn't matter. Initially, it was really about when you're traveling, instead of like going to some hotel or even a hostel, like maybe stay with someone so that, yes, it's cheaper, but most importantly, like it gives you a chance to meet like with a local or maybe an expat, but who's living there. So it gives you like a different experience than like if you're traveling and like isolated, you know, without any, without getting in touch with the local culture. And it's all about, yes, you're staying at someone's for free, but it's mostly about spending time with your host. Maybe you cook together, maybe you hang out together, whatever. Like you share experiences and you exchange culture, you talk in different languages, potentially that's the goal. And then they expanded the concept to social events, saying like, hey, actually this could also happen outside of people's homes. Maybe not everyone can or wants to host or wants to be hosted, but they still want to meet people,
yeah.
Right? That they don't know, that come from different cultures, that speak different languages, whatever. So they expanded the concept to social events where basically anyone who's a part of the platform can put up an event that's pretty much anything. It could be going on a hike, could be going to a bar, could be, I don't know, working on a project, could be anything you like, basically. And you say, whoever wants to come, comes. You set a place and a date,
okay.
And that's the whole concept.
Okay.
That's the whole concept of the social events part of Couchsurfing.
Gotcha.
And I initially joined. I didn't organize events at the beginning. I joined just as an attendee, let's say. And the reason for that is that when I came back to Paris after living in a bunch of other places in France and the UK, in those previous parts of my life, like I was swimming in multicultural environments. It just worked out this way.
Interesting.
And when I came back to Paris, which is my hometown, I still had friends here and I met new French friends, but I was really missing that multicultural aspect that was just like the norm for me, actually, because I spent 5 years in Grenoble, surrounded by people from all over, because the job that I had like was in this kind of context. And before that, I was an expat in the UK, so that was just the norm for me. So going back to a fully Frenchy French, let's say, life and day-to-day life was really weird, and I was really missing something. So I started searching like what were the options to meet internationals in Paris, and I know there are a lot because Paris is a massively cosmopolitan city, right? So that's how I found out about couchsurfing, and I realized that it was a great way to meet people, and not just any people, but very open-minded people who decided to get out of the comfort zone and travel the world, or come to live to Paris, even though they literally know nobody here. And it was also a way for me to, because I myself am of mixed culture, I'm French, but half of my heritage is Egyptian, and some of me is not French. Like some of my personality traits are not French at all. And I couldn't find those, like with my French friends, I couldn't fulfill those needs, let's say. So by meeting with people from couchsurfing, especially people from Mediterranean cultures, I started fulfilling that part, that was feeling like kind of like left out, let's say. And also it was a way for me to also travel when I wasn't traveling, because when you travel, a lot of what you experience comes from people, actually. And so when I was going to couchsurfing events, I was actually meeting people not only from different cultures, but also who live entirely different lives, different jobs, different paths, different lifestyles, different choices. And they were people I would never have a chance to meet otherwise. So it was super, super enriching. And I really appreciate the community. And I was like attending events for like, I don't remember now, probably 4 or 5 years before actually starting to organize something.
Okay, and why did you start organizing something all of a sudden? Okay,
so I was very grateful for what like the community brought to me personally. And then one day, actually, there was an event happening, a social event happening in a very nice bar, organized by a girl that had become a friend every Wednesday. Okay. And she suddenly had to stop organizing the event for personal reasons. Okay. And I was really sad about it. I was like, oh my God, that was such a cool thing. So I asked her if she would be okay with me picking up the event if she couldn't do it anymore. And I asked another friend of mine who had become like a very close friend that I had met through previous events on couchsurfing. I had asked her if she would be into co-organizing with me so that we would do it together, we would put the energy in together, and we'd build something together. And she said yes, and that's how the adventure started, basically. I thought it was like, I wanted to keep the event going, and I thought it was time to give back as well, because I had received so much, and I had met some amazing people through the community. So I thought it was time to give back, and it worked out well. I mean, honestly, we were putting a lot of energy, especially like in the first couple of years, and people were giving us back that energy. So it was like a very positive circle, and we started building our own community with word of mouth, people who were enjoying it, telling about their friends or other people they had met otherwise. And so we started like growing the event slowly but surely, and it became like something nice that people knew they could like rely on. No matter what, Wednesdays, that's happening. I want to meet people, or I'm feeling a little bit alone, or I have a friend coming into town and they need to meet people. I'm going to bring them over, whatever. No matter what, they know that this is happening. It's like a little anchor in the middle of the week.
That's amazing, honestly. So I've been to some of these Wednesday events, obviously, you know that, and it's been an incredible time. But I feel like one of the cool things about the Wednesday event is you can be whoever you want in those events. Like, there's always an opportunity for you to like just hang out with the people that you know. Mm-hmm. But if you want to meet new people, they're always just there. They're floating around, and you can talk to them, and they're eager to get to know you. And I think that's so cool. And the fact that they have an opportunity to keep coming and building their identity within a group of people that is also changing at the same time is cool. I think I feel like, at least for me, it's been very good in terms of expanding my network, but also allowing myself to get out of my own head and meet people that I don't know, and also if I want to hang out with the same people that I've been hanging out for a long time with, because they also show up, that's
for sure.
that's very nice.
Yeah, and there's a space for everyone. Like there's all sorts of people who show up. There will be people who are regulars, like they've been coming for years or months, or they'll come once in a while, like regularly, and then disappear and then come again. There'll be people who are like they're friends, like, so they'll like to hang out more with the people they already know, which is very human. Then there'll be people who are just like passing through, literally 3 days in Paris, and they're just looking for a nice night out.
Nice night out, yeah.
And then there's people who are like literally just moved, and they have no clue what the is going on, where to go, what to say, who to meet. And they're literally just looking for connection and a way to rebuild a semblance of a social life, in a place they just landed. And there's space for everyone. Like some people are really into talking to new people. Some people just want to hang out with the people they already know. And the same people can be in a different vibe and a different mood from one event to the next, including myself. Sometimes
true, of course.
I'll be like, oh, okay, today I'm a little bit less in the mood to like
to be the organizer
and to bridge and to talk to 15 new people, in a couple of hours. And sometimes I'll be really into it, and I'll be hardly talking to people I really know, and even to like closer friends, and really invested into just like making people meet and meeting myself new people, because it's very much a give and take thing. If you give energy, you'll get energy back as well.
Yeah, it's so true. Right. So I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of different, I'm sure, relationships you've seen formed over the course of the last 7 years. When I say relationship, I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. All kinds of relationships that have formed. You've seen people start their lives in Paris and kind of come into their own because of the jumping off point. This group maybe has given. How does it feel to have played such an impactful role in so many people's lives? What's that like?
It feels pretty awesome. No, it feels very fulfilling, the fact that you can, because it's not it is work, but it's not a lot at the end of the day, but it does have an impact.
Yeah.
And when people come up to me, and of course this doesn't happen every week, but when people come up to me and say like, thanks to what you do, I was able to rebuild a life for myself in a place where I knew no one, and I was here and I was scared and a little lost, and now I have this whole life. That's amazing. I mean, like, if I can, and sometimes it will be much smaller. Sometimes it will be someone passing through Paris for a week, and at the end of the event, or if we meet up afterwards outside of the event, they'll come up and say like, that really changed my trip.
Yeah.
Like, it made my trip entirely different. I'm super happy because
there's a gentleman I met on Wednesday at the event, who came to the party that I threw on
Remy.
Friday. Remy.
Yeah.
What a great guy. And he's only here for like a week, and I'm happy that he was able to meet so many people, and and I think that kind of an event really allows for those kinds of connections, which may seem like no big deal, but it could really like launch off somebody's whole social life in a country, especially when they're expats. Okay, so what I really like about this whole situation is that you are Parisian. You moved all over France before you came to Paris. What was 15 years ago, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And you also had lived as an expat in the UK?
In the UK, yeah.
For how long was that?
For 1 year. It was
1
short,
year.
but intense.
Okay, I can imagine, yeah. So, you've had the idea of... You know what it's like to be an expat, because you obviously had that experience in the UK. But in Paris, did you feel a sense of, I belong here after you moved here, or was it tough for you to integrate into Paris as well? I'm trying to draw the parallels between an expat coming from somewhere else.
Yeah. It wasn't as tough as it would have been for an expat.
Okay.
And also, so one, I'm French. Two, I'm from Paris, but I hadn't been in Paris in years.
Gotcha.
So a lot of the people I knew were gone. Even though I'm French and even Parisian, I had to rebuild partially a social life for myself as well. But of course, it's easier for me because being French, I know the codes, I know the social norms, I speak the language, I understand the culture. So it's much less of a hoop, to jump.
Yeah.
But I could understand The feeling of showing up, and that's also true for like French people who come from other parts of France. Like many people in Paris are not from Paris; they come from other parts of France for studies, for work, and they come here and maybe they know one or two people indirectly, but they don't know anyone else, and they have also to rebuild from scratch. So it's not always just tough for expats; it can be also tough to rebuild a community, a place where you feel you belong, for any outsider. Really. And having been an expat myself in the UK, I had felt that, but it was easier for me then because like I was in university. So, when you're studying, you have a natural circle that is much easier to build. Yeah. Whereas when you're not studying anymore, you literally have nothing.
Yeah,
if you have if you have your job, or even if you come and you don't have a job, then it's like even harder.
Yeah.
And you literally like what are the options to meet people, knowing that in France it's not, people aren't mean or anything, but it's just not in the culture to walk in a place, like in a public place, and just start talking to people. If you walk into a bar and just start to try to hang out with people, people will look at you like, who the fuck is this weirdo, And it's not that they're mean, it's that it's not socially acceptable, let's say. And there will be exceptions to this, of course, but it's not the norm. So one of the things about those kinds of like social events is basically just giving the context, the chance for people to meet without the potential relative inappropriateness or awkwardness or fear of meeting strangers in a context that is, because in most social contexts here in France, it wouldn't be considered normal.
Yeah, it seems kind of a little bit, at least from an expat perspective, if you hear that and you kind of see it overall. I know a lot of people would see sometimes, I've had these experiences where I've gone into a group of French people and felt like I don't belong here. But it was also because of the fact that I don't speak the language as well. So it was like probably I didn't understand as much. But clearly there's a very, very strong connection that feels difficult to kind of join into if you haven't been part of their history and their past, and they've got a bond that is based off of something.
Yeah.
These people may have seen each other grow up, and they may have seen whatever the case may be, right? So if you're a Parisian and you've lived in Paris all of your life, your bonds with your friends are probably way stronger.
Yes.
And way more difficult to break through for an expat than it would be to form their own bonds with other people like them, like expats. So this is true. I've felt it for sure. I have found that it was very difficult for me to immediately jump into a group of French people because there was a language barrier, and I was able to overcome that eventually. I can speak French pretty okay now, and French people speak English pretty well as well. I've found they just don't like to say it. But I feel like a lot of French people who say I only speak a little bit of English. That's not true. They speak a decent amount of English.
And you went to ASEC as well, so normally they speak good English in there.
Yeah, but also, even in, like, I talk to a French person, maybe a taxi driver. They will know a little bit of English. I speak to any kind of, at work, maybe not, they don't speak super good English, but it's still a decent amount to be able to communicate. Regardless, they're not very comfortable with their level of English, so they don't want to say it or speak in English as much, and obviously they shouldn't be expected to. We are in France. But initially, when it comes, it's like, oh my God, like I might make so many mistakes. I might not be able to catch up or keep up with them. And they do speak very fast. And they do speak very...
and a lot of slang. We eat up the words.
A lot of expressions. And it feels like there's a price to pay for entry into this kind of an environment.
Yeah, I get that.
And I felt that. But I feel like once expats kind of start off with groups of friends within themselves and they feel confident enough, I think we were chatting earlier and you raised a very good point. The point at the end of all of this is to feel comfortable enough to form friendships with the Parisians that you wanted to in the first place.
Yeah, I would.
Maybe that's, otherwise if we don't do this, then we're probably missing out on a big part of the experience.
I think so. Like, so I totally get the whole, like, it's hard to break into, like, French people circles. Even French people say that about other French people. So imagine for foreigners. It's true that in France, and that's also cultural, I think, once people have their social circle, and it's often based on contacts that gave them chance to meet these people. So it's often going to be like who you went to university with, or you grew up with, or friends of your family, or maybe coworkers, or maybe someone you shared a dance class with, And once they have that circle of friends, they don't often look to expand that. They're not necessarily always looking to meet new people.
Yeah.
So once they're comfortable, they have their zone of comfort. They don't necessarily look for new people all the time. There are exceptions to those, but in everyday life, that would be the case. So it does make it hard. But to go back to your second point, yes, I think that once so it's hard when you get here. It's hard for many reasons. Even more so if you don't know the language, that's 10 times harder. But if you don't know the culture, you don't know people, you left friends, family, zones of comfort, everything behind. You get here, you don't know anything. You're facing French administration and all that jazz on top of, being alone. Connecting with French people is going to seem like a mountain. But once you've actually gotten to a place where you feel more safe, more comfortable, you have made some friends, expats or not, you found some kind of stability, you've got a little routine and stuff, I would really recommend people to make the effort. I know it's an effort, but to learn the language, try to understand the culture, enjoy the food, read some books if they can, go to the cinema, go to the theater. Paris has so much to offer. And try to meet French people, because it is a barrier, I agree, but you'll get a lot from them as well if you're able to go through that barrier.
Yeah.
And also delving into the culture, not living in an expat bubble, because that's a big temptation, I think, when you come to a new place, which I completely understand. It's superhuman. But once you're in your comfort zone, I think it's good to try to burst that expat bubble. Otherwise, you're missing out on a lot of stuff. And if you start learning the language, eating the food, drinking the drinks, I'm not saying just wine, going to the theater, that will be a way to also get to French people, because the French people, and even more so the Parisians, are very much bon vivant. They don't have money, they're still going to go to the restaurant. It's 2 degrees outside, it's raining, they're still going to be on a terrace because they want to be outdoors, they want to be having their drinks with their friends.
I love it.
And so a lot of the connections in France come also from the common things you enjoy in life. I feel that's a big part of how people here make friendships. That's how they start anyway. So if you're able to go through that, you'll have the bridge will become smaller, to accessing French people.
No,
I'm sorry, it sounds like it's a whole journey. It's not always such a big journey, but yeah. And I say this because sometimes I see people who come here and they stay here for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and they're still in an expat bubble, and if they're content with it, no problem. But I always feel they're missing out a little bit, because they could be doing the same thing almost anywhere. They're not taking advantage of the place that they're in, and they're missing out on part of the experience, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit guilty of this. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy feeling like I'm in my comfort zone when it comes to friends. And that requires, at least in my head right now, me to talk in English. It's a thing for me, because I'm funnier in English. I'm just way more comfortable and easy, and
I get that.
Myself in English. And when I speak French, oftentimes it's I have to translate a sentence in my head before I say it.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's
because you sound super fluent. I didn't know.
Yeah, but the things I sound fluent in are basically the things I have to say to apologize for my bad French.
Okay.
I've learned those sentences real well. It gets me through most situations. But
I get the sense of humor thing.
Yeah.
It's very hard when you're not super fluent. It's hard to be truly yourself in the foreign language, especially when it comes to sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I've even heard people say to someone oh my God, you're almost not the same person, but you sound different. You feel different when you're talking in your native language.
In a different language. I've noticed when I speak French, I speak slightly higher pitched. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really funny, because I always thought that English, especially the American accent, not necessarily the other accents, but the American accent, makes you like move like your tongue and use your palate, etc., in a way that carries your voice a lot more.
Right.
I know my voice is higher when I'm when I'm talking in English actually
Really
than when
interesting.
I'm talking in French.
For me, when I speak in French, it's almost kind of like apologetic. Almost like, maybe I'm saying this wrong. It's
No,
hesitant.
you shouldn't.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Your French is pretty good, actually.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.
Sometimes I'm like, why doesn't he speak French to me sometimes? Come on.
Maybe I should do a podcast episode in French. That'd be
Holy
interesting.
shit, there you go. That's
That'd
an
be
example.
interesting.
That would be a
That'd
good
be a
one.
test. That'd be a challenge for me, for sure. Anyway, no, what I like about you, Lise, is here's the thing. We have established that it's difficult for expats to make friends with French people because French people have a reasonable amount of barriers to entry into their friend groups, and it's a good thing. It's an important thing for them to have that because it means something. Their friend groups are very important to them, and it means that you have to pay a price to be part of it, and that's part of the initiation process in a new country or whatever. And good for that. What I'm saying is, it's rare, and I've seen this happen a few times. Actually, I have some very close friends who are French who are very similar to you, but it's rare to have people extend their own sense of having experienced not feeling belonging somewhere, come back to their homes like you did. I mean, obviously Paris was not your home, but France was. Come back to their homes and extend that sense of belonging to people who don't have it. I think that is very, very special. I think that, I mean, this would be an invitation, like you're saying, you're inviting expats to go out and try to make French friends more. And as an expat, I would also invite all of my French listeners that if you do feel a sense of belonging, maybe it's good to be able to spread it to others. Because when you don't feel it, it's real tough. You know, I've been there. I have felt like every move I make is wrong in a place where everybody's looking at me. I've felt like, oh, maybe I'm saying bonsoir too early and I'm saying bonjour too late, and maybe I'm doing all kinds of things wrong, and maybe I'm being judged for. And that is obviously something that is super valuable when it comes to the overall expat experience, because if there wasn't that discomfort, then it wouldn't mean anything to go to a new place. You know, if it was so easy to just go to a new place, ça va.
Exactly.
So that discomfort is absolutely necessary, but I also think that the ray of sunshine or the light at the end of the tunnel can be a little bit brighter. And thanks to people like you, I have found that there is a significant amount of light if people choose to look in that direction. There are people like you out there who are trying to make these connections. And I also think it's so important for all of us to make these connections, because I've been noticing French people over the last, 3-4 years, I've noticed this very, very heavily over the last 3 or 4 years, they're more willing to engage with the expatriates, with international people.
Okay, so you've seen an evolution there.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's great.
During the Olympics, the number of people who said, I don't want to be here, yeah, that was high. But there were also reels coming out, people messaging on all kinds of places, saying stuff like, of course I want to be in Paris during the Olympics. Of course, I'm French, I'm from Paris, and of course I want to be in Paris during the Olympics because I'm going to be able to see so many people from all of these different places. And this is an event that is going to bolster my national pride, or whatever the case may be, and they wanted to interact. And there's people out there learning English. There's more and more restaurants. They're able to answer you in English. You don't feel as uncomfortable.
That's true. And I think people travel a lot more as well. So that also helps.
And this is the price, I think, for a metropolitan, globalized kind of city like Paris that it has to pay. No one is saying that the language is going to be in any way diminished, but there's got to be space for people to come and speak their own languages as well. Especially when people have kind of agreed overall that the one language people should speak, especially in an international environment, is typically English. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I feel like English is the kind of globalized language.
Course.
So it's primarily...
It's like the common denominator.
It's the common denominator in a lot of things. And shout out to all the colonialists out there.
Oh, God.
Anyway, but yeah, I think that Paris is also showing more of an openness towards people of different cultures. They're showing an openness to people who speak English. And I think that helps with people wanting to learn French more as well. I just don't think that like sticking to this idea that everybody in Paris should speak French is going to help with people wanting to integrate as much. I feel like there is more of a possibility for an expat or for anybody to want to speak French when they see that there's effort being put in on both sides because they want you here as much as you want to be here, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not saying as much, but at least there's an openness. Do you see what I'm saying or no?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't know if you tend to agree with me on that.
No, I see what you're saying, but I would also say, like, if I was going personally, like, to another country, I would expect some level of welcome for sure, but I wouldn't expect people to be
Speaking
as
our
welcoming
language, yeah.
if I made zero effort to speak their language.
Absolutely. No, you're right. No, it's
Because
gotta be.
I am going there,
Yeah.
and it is normal, and it's not even about integration. It's about curiosity, which is like,
I agree.
the bare minimum level. I think
basis
when you go
yeah.
somewhere, you have to show at least some level of curiosity. Then integrating speaking fully and swimming fully in the culture, like that's an entirely different thing.
And that can take
But-
its time,
And that can take time, and people have to do it in their own at their own rhythm if they want to and when they want to. But showing some level of curiosity, I think, makes sense.
Makes a big difference. You're so right. I think as an expat, it's coming to a place and expecting it to be exactly how you think it should be is a disservice to yourself and the place you're going to.
Imagine going to the US or the UK and not speaking English. How do you think that's going to go?
Not well. This is true. But I do know of people going to places like India and expecting everybody to speak English because, I do know of people going to places like maybe Egypt also. There's a lot of people who travel to Egypt and they don't speak Arabic and they get by. I lived in Oman for a while, which was in the Middle East, and I didn't speak any Arabic. I learned whatever I learned there, but it was mostly in English. And I'm not saying... Because Oman was a completely different story for me, if I'm being honest, because I went there as a child, and for me it was very clear that there was a separation between the Indian community in Oman and the Omani community.
Okay. You feel like you could never have
maybe
mixed with the Oman community, even if you actively tried?
Because they didn't speak much English. They spoke primarily Arabic, which was very difficult for me to understand at that point. And then that was sure. But there was a very strong Indian community already. And this is, I think, what we were talking about earlier about certain communities in Paris that have created strong bonds within themselves. This is what Indian community had done in Oman.
Okay.
So my school was an Indian school. My dad was working in an Omani company, obviously, but he had a lot of people within the company who were from India or from different places in the subcontinent, and that was always a sense of stability for us. But again, it would take a lot for us to go out and integrate into Omani society fully because there was clearly that barrier. Rules were different for Omanis than they were for expats.
Right.
The potential for somebody to be considered Omani was very tiny. Only some people who've lived there for 40, 50 years.
Yeah. That's a whole other game, though.
That's a whole other game.
Yeah.
Now in Paris, obviously you feel like more connected to Paris because there's not that kind of divide.
No, because there's not necessarily as strong of a divide based on your origin.
Exactly.
And also Paris has, itself, like it's already very mixed, right? Like for generations and generations now, it's the most mixed city in the country, because of the history that we have and the colonization that France did for
Shut up.
a very long time, that I am absolutely ashamed of. But so yeah, no, it's completely different. I've never been to Oman or to Dubai. But to be honest, like one of the reasons I've never been to those countries and the couple of countries around us all is because of that. Like,
Yeah. But it's also, I didn't think of it as a very, very negative thing at all.
okay,
Because Omanis definitely have a sense of, I want to preserve my culture, my heritage, my language. It's going to be this way. This is what we're building here. It's going to be very Omani. Now you can come in and you can participate and you can help in everything. but we're not changing this fundamental core part of us, which is totally acceptable. It didn't feel like a negative thing. It feels like way more of a positive thing in France that they are so open,
Okay.
you know? And because they are so open, it makes at least me feel like, yeah, I want to more. In Oman, there was less incentive to integrate, you know, because
I get that.
it's very interesting because even they're paid differently. Like you, based off of your citizenship, you're paid different, all kinds of
Yeah,
various
but that's the
different.
thing. Like, I
Yeah.
felt like there was like inherent segregation based on your origin,
Yeah.
and I don't know enough about Oman, so I
Yeah.
can't really speak to it. But I've seen
Yeah.
like in other countries in the area, there will be communities, like very large communities, coming initially from other countries, but like there will be like an implicit split of like job types, social classes, not mixing, etc. That I've seen or that I heard that people reported back to me. Voilà, but I don't know what it's like to live in those kinds of environments. I've never tried
But
myself, so.
but I feel like it's also exists in France, just less structured,
Okay.
less you know, enforced by the rule of the government of law or the government. It's these are very small things,
More subtle, more implicit.
subtle, more implicit, and this can be perceived as racism, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a protection of your own kind of identity, your culture, that you see maybe kind of dissolving in a sea of like people you don't know coming from all different countries to your city. I totally understand that as well, you know. But I feel like this is an opportunity for both the expat and the host to maybe allow for a little bit more trust with one another because they want to be here and you want people who want to be here to be. That may be something as well. So yeah, no. Do you think that you have any specific advice for either expats or the French people or the whole system in general? Do you think you have any kind of ways, things that you might want to give as advice to anybody who's entering here for the first time or someone who's welcoming people here, whatever the case may be?
So people entering here for the first time. So I think we touched on it like earlier. So to be curious, to be open, to try to jump the hoop also of making connection with locals and understanding and enjoying more than understanding, enjoying the local culture. I think that would be a big recommendation. Some small tips maybe, because of course things like couchsurfing or other expat or international communities are very helpful, that can really like help you like, you know, get on the horse literally and get started. Outside of this, so because France, it's again like socially, it's not really accepted to like just go talk to strangers randomly on the street or in a bar or whatever. But there are exceptions to those. I would recommend, like, rather than going to some nice bars, like if you want to hang out with people or if you're only like two people and you want to meet new people, there will not every, but many neighborhoods will have at least one or two or three places which are meant for people in their neighborhood. They're not hype. They're not boo-boo. They're not trying to sell you much. They will be cheap and made by locals. And I say locals, I mean locals from the neighborhood. By locals, for locals. And in these places, the rules are out. The rules are different. You can actually, you can talk to the bartenders. You can talk to the other people in the bar or the cafe. And when you walk into these places, you'll see that you'll have like half of the people who are all solo but connected by that place. They all met there and they hang out at that cafe or at that bar. So try to spot these kind of places. They have a very different vibe from like your typical other Parisian bar. The other spot where rules are different for some reason are like big parades or festivals, Fête de la Musique, Pride, Techno Parade, all these things, like the barriers come down.
Yeah.
And people want to come together. They leave the social rules behind. They want to love and communicate and more demonstrate, affection. Like, I don't know, something happens. And these are places, and most of those happen in the summer. So if you make the most of the summer, I would say make the most of the summer. find one or two people like you're already good with, and then hit those spots, and you'll meet a bunch of new people. It's like a huge socializing boost, I think, the summer period in Paris. If you go to those festivals, the Pride, the Fête de la Musique, all these things, even I myself like still meet people every year through those events, because people are just like in a sharing mood. And you were talking about the Olympics earlier. Last year was insane. I have never seen Paris like this my whole life.
I loved it.
I loved it.
I'm so proud of all the Parisians, first of all. They were incredible. They were so welcoming to everybody. I loved...
Even the cops were nice. I was shocked. I was like, what the fuck is this thing? This is not the
It was really sweet. But obviously, there was going to be a whole bunch of French Parisians who were like, I am absolutely leaving for...
I was one of those initially. I swear to you, for 6 months, I was like, oh my God, it's going to be such a mess. So full of people, and transport's going to be a disaster. And like, I have to get out. I have to get out. And actually, I was here at the beginning, but I had planned some vacation like in the south of France with some friends, and for like a week. And after that, I was supposed to continue my trip solo, and I decided to cut it short and come back to Paris so that I could enjoy the Olympics more, because the vibe was so good. Everyone talking and sharing, and like, I think that, yeah, sports have like it's just an amazing way to connect people,
So
you know,
true.
across
So
everything. And yeah, like I could hear cops being nice. I was hearing train conductors making jokes on the fucking RERB. You know how many jokes I heard in 15 years on the RERB? Like zero. And the one time I took the RERB to go to the Stade de France, like for a game, the train was working, number one, which was like, oh my God, the trains are working. Like, they're making the trains work for the Olympics. Thank you very much. And the driver was fun and making these jokes. I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
This is not the Paris,
Yeah.
the Paris I know. And yeah, it was a very,
I think
very nice time.
fundamentally changed after the Olympics. I feel like something has happened.
You feel like it's still like
I totally feel like
changed
this.
after that? Okay,
Yeah,
that's
100%.
nice.
Because I feel like everybody knows that this is... I feel like people already knew this, but post-Olympics, the sense of it being a globally important city is slightly more. You know, Paris is not just a city in France. It is a city that is important on a global level, I feel. You know, there's a lot of events globally that happen here, big things. You have all kinds of, you know, G20 meets here. You have all kinds of representatives of all different kinds of parts of the world, for music stuff here, for fashion stuff here. This is definitely some kind of a capital.
Yeah, and it is the most visited city
Yeah.
in the world as
Yeah.
well. So that
Yeah.
probably helps
Yeah.
putting it on the map. But
And it's so beautiful, my God. This is
and one of the things I thought which was pretty cool, which I not necessarily would have expected, is like the Olympic flame. You know, there's a huge thing they built for the Olympic flame. They actually decided to keep it after the end of the Olympics, and it's a new symbol of Paris. And there's not, like, Paris has such a like long history, and the history is part of the reason why people come here also to visit. And I had not expected that, you know, politicians here would like actually fight to keep this and integrate it as a symbol, as a new symbol of Paris, which actually has nothing to do with the history of Paris. But now that we hosted the Olympics, like somehow, you know, it has been integrated into the history of Paris, which I thought was pretty modern compared to a lot of the history, you know,
great, yeah.
a lot of the stuff that Paris has in its past. So,
Yeah,
so that was
for
nice.
sure. Yeah. No, I think that the French people were incredible during the Olympics. I feel like there's much more openness to internationals post-Olympics. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just a me thing. But I feel like that for sure.
Okay, so you feel like it wasn't just during the Olympics, like it changed the place somehow, and it's still palpable. Like, okay, that's
I
nice.
feel like that. And I think that expats in this process are also starting to feel more like home, because it's not just us entering this very French capital and trying to become French. It's also them realizing that they are becoming just as global as everybody else in this global city.
Right.
Coming from different places, but becoming citizens of a bigger thing, of a bigger system, which I think is cool. But again, I would say that everything you said about expats trying to be more curious, be more open, have less expectations about how a place should be because you've had some experiences in the past. I think those are super, super important as fundamental things for an expat. If you were to give advice to Frenchies, Frenchies, I don't mean it in any kind of
no way. I say Frenchie all the time.
To French people, if I were to give advice to French people about like the kinds of ways in which they can be more welcoming, would there be anything you want to tell them? Or
Sure. Okay, number one is be fucking nice, please.
they are very nice, but yeah, I know.
No, I'm joking. Nice in the sense like, yes, more welcoming. Like, French people are not mean at all, but they're not the warmest people. And they are going to come off as cold compared to other cultures. Someone who comes from Mediterranean culture is going to think French people are really cold. And I totally get that because I'm also mixed and I see the difference. When I go to Egypt, it's like a parallel universe, compared to France. It's even hard to believe that these two countries are on the same planet. And these people are sharing the same oxygen, So my recommendation to Frenchies, and I'm more than happy to use the word, nothing negative about that, is to, one, don't necessarily settle for like your existing group of friends. Be more open about meeting people in general. Doesn't matter where they're from. Two, please make an effort to speak English or other languages, and it's okay if not everyone speaks French. It's okay if you don't speak English fluently. It doesn't matter. As long as you're showing that you want to make a small effort for a new connection, people will love that. They will love that. They will cherish that, and they will give it back to you tenfold. Believe me, that's been my experience.
Yeah.
That's been my experience anyway. And don't hesitate to mix things up. I hear sometimes like, oh no, but these people are not going to integrate with that people. I don't want to mix things up. We're all humans. We mix up very, very naturally. Give it a shot. Believe me, it works 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Honestly. Voila. That will.
Also from to also give them some credit. It's not fair, and it's not comfortable for people to come into your country and ask you to start speaking a different language. So I totally understand, that kind of hesitance.
Yeah, but if
but
they,
it is an opportunity.
it is like if they do, and they shouldn't see it as like when I do it, I don't see it like I'm doing a favor to anyone.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I do it also for myself. It's enriching for me.
Yeah.
It really is. Like when I'm speaking another language, I find it super enriching. When I'm meeting someone who sees the world differently, I find it super enriching. When and through couch surfing in general, not necessarily my event, like anything, I have met people who live such different lives. It's mind-blowing. And every time I make the effort to go towards someone, I never regret it. Ever. It's only positive, unless the person's a huge and these people exist as well, of course. It's gonna happen once in a while. But other than that, and most people have, pretty good radars past a certain age, they can sense like who's a decent person, who they might connect better with, whom they might not have a lot in common with at the end of the day. But give it a shot. Give it a shot. If it doesn't work, no harm done.
Yeah.
It's not like you've wasted years of your life.
Yeah.
You just walk away. And if it works, then maybe you've gained something extraordinary in your life. So
I think a slightly more trusting stance from both parties, I think, would be.
yeah.
Maybe a slightly less kind of like, oh, you're making me learn a new language and you're making me learn a new language. Instead of that, it can be more like, yeah, they're trying to learn French, and maybe I can also help along the way. Maybe I can learn a little bit of English to support them. If they're in my community, why not support them in some way, make them feel like they belong? I don't know. These kinds of things may be super helpful for expats as well.
And also like on the language thing, because I've heard this a bunch of times. So people trying to learn French, but they're not good yet. So they're going to be hesitant. They're going to be lacking vocabulary. They're going to make mistakes, which is completely normal. It's part of the process. And then, but when they try speaking French, the French person will not have the patience to listen to them, maybe correct them if they want to be corrected. and take the time to answer in French, they like switch to English. And that's another problem I've heard. It's not necessarily always that the French people don't want to speak English. It's the opposite sometimes, is that they don't want to make the effort of listening to and speaking in French
Responding in French. They
with
just
someone who
respond in
doesn't
English.
speak
Yeah.
well French because they don't have the patience. I'm like,
Yeah.
take a little bit of extra time. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
actually making a step towards you. So don't
Don't
push it back
them
in their
away.
face, you
Yeah.
know? Don't say like, oh no, you're not worthy because you don't speak French fluently, so I will not have a conversation with you in French. Like, that to me doesn't make any sense. I understand that people don't always have patience and live a speedy life, but if you're spending a few minutes someone having a conversation, trying to have a small connection, do it all the way.
Yeah.
Just take the time to listen to their half broken ass French. It's okay.
Yeah. I have a lot of gratitude to a whole bunch of Uber drivers who have listened to me bumble around in French, and they have given me way more confidence to speak in real life.
Aw.
And they've heard me speak in French. They didn't speak much English, but they were very patient with me when it comes to French. Barbers,
Oh, nice.
shout out to the coiffeurs in Paris, and the Uber Bolt drivers, Heach, whatever. Very good conversations with them, and always very supportive. I guess maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm paying them and I'm sitting in their car. But
That
is an attitude that really allows for me to make mistakes in French.
Right.
You know, make all of the like screw up, and they'll help me correct it. And it's sometimes a good way to kind of interact as well. So I would highly recommend any expat, if you're taking Ubers anywhere, try to speak to the person in French or wherever you are, whatever language the host country speaks.
Yeah. Order your food in French.
Yeah. Yeah.
Order your baguette in French.
Yeah. Stand in front of the mirror and say the air a few times. You know, that helps. It feels like you're becoming part of something. You feel that you're giving more to earn that place that you want in the country. It's very important. I want to talk about one or two more things. I've heard a lot of people say this, and I don't think that it's true, but I have heard expats specifically say this, that French people are more closed than like you were saying, the Mediterranean culture or the North African culture. Even like in India, there are people who will be more open to connections, while French people are slightly more close to connections. This is what also I feel like Adam had mentioned in his last episode as well.
Right.
I'm not sure if this is true or not. However, I do feel like there is something to be explored here in that, do you think that French people are just interacting with them one-on-one as a French person? Do you think that overall it's more difficult to get to connect with a French person than it is to do with another person? Or do you think this is just a language barrier thing? I'm trying to isolate where that sense comes from, you know?
So I don't think it's more difficult to connect with a French person, but the connection is often one-on-one. So
Gotcha.
everything is relative, right? So it will seem harder or it will seem colder in comparison to somewhere else, something else. If you come from Egypt and you come to France, in a place like Egypt, and I'm just taking Egypt as an example, but it's true of many countries actually, there is culturally, there's a much larger sense of community, living in a community, and integrating people just because they exist, they are there, and not because you've actually established like a personal connection with them.
Yeah.
So you'll be granted a free pass, let's say, just because you exist.
Gotcha.
And so you'll be accepted, you'll be helped, you'll be even loved and welcomed, without necessarily having made like one-on-one connection, you know, in a group, in a community, in a town. And there will be, it's going to be easier because people naturally live more as communities and less individually.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I think this was the crux of my question. Do you think that France is a more individualistic
kind
of society?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
It definitely is. France is a much more individualistic society, but even on a scale as small as just France, you can't completely generalize. Yeah. Depending on the region, And depending on the size of the city, of the town, the vibe's going to be completely different.
Gotcha.
If you go, so we talked a lot about Paris. Paris is a big city. The thing with big cities is that they're often anonymous. And you know, when
What do you mean when you say they're often anonymous?
it's like you don't really like, how to say this? If you want to know people, you have to endeavor to know them. You're not going to bump into them by chance
True.
at your local cafe, at the local supermarket or market, maybe within small neighborhoods and stuff. Yes, but whereas if you go to smaller cities, like you can't ignore people because you bump into them naturally all the
Every day,
time,
yeah.
right? So
Gotcha.
even in France, you go to a village, people will say hi to each other. In France, you're never going to see people say hi to each other. But suddenly, you go on a hike in the forest, everyone's saying hi. Why? Because you're 15 people on a 3-kilometer hike, you can't ignore one another. It feels weird to ignore one another. But in Paris, even if it's very crazy, I never understood this, but Paris is a very, very dense city. So it's tons of people in a small space. And so restaurants, cafes and stuff, sometimes you have like individual tables, but sometimes you have like big tables. And people will be sitting, like they'll place like a group of 4 and then a group of 2 and then a group of 6 all on the same table. And they'll be sitting like closer to than what you and I are sitting now. There'll be less distance between them. But there's like this invisible wall of like, I am not talking to you. You do not exist because we are not part of the same group, which is insane because literally, if I do this, I'm going to touch you. How can I ignore you when you're so there in my face, literally? But that's context and social norms. But if you go to a small town, a lot of this is going to disappear because like you bump into people all the time. When there's fewer people, it's just not anonymous or much less anonymous. And so you don't ignore people. It just doesn't make sense anymore to ignore people. Yeah. And then on a region perspective as well, characters, like every region in France has its own reputation. And a lot of it is, not all of it is true, but some of it is at least founded. Personally, like, so the family on my dad's side, so the French part, is from the north, le Pas-de-Calais. We call them les ch'tis. It's like the nickname for the people of this part of France. You've had the beer, okay? They have the reputation of being... Which beer exactly? Ch'ti. Oh, probably, yeah. If they call it ch'ti, it comes from...
Isn't that the one
from
that's
ch'ti?
9%, whatever?
Yeah, we like them strong up there. It's cold, you know? We need to keep warm.
I think that's it.
No, so like that part of France has the reputation of like where the people are the nicest. And honestly, it's true. It's my experience. If I go to the Nord-Pas-de-Calais, it's a very different experience than if I go to the southeast of France. I personally don't like at all the vibe in the southeast of France, especially like close to the Riviera.
What's the difference vibe-wise?
People are much less nice, much less welcoming, much less helpful. And I think it has to do with the fact that, you know, like there's a lot of people passing through with the tourism and stuff, so they don't make necessarily like the effort to be kind and stuff. Yeah. In the north, it's funny because like in the north, it's the place where you have the part of the country that is the poorest, where there's the highest unemployment rate and the shittiest weather, but it's where the people are the nicest. And I was there like last weekend actually. I spent a day in Lille before joining my family like in another part of the area. And I met a couch surfer there, and he was telling me, unfortunately after COVID it changed a bit, but that before COVID, and Lille is it's not a huge city, but it's a city. He was saying in Lille you could walk into any bar and you'd befriend everyone there, like in just one evening. And that was the social norm. You say that to someone in Paris, they won't even believe you because that's unthinkable in Paris. And it's 1 hour by train between the two cities. Yeah. So it's hard to generalize.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting.
But yeah, if you come from a Mediterranean or Middle Eastern country or an Asian country,
in comparison,
it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. It's very, very different here for sure.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to ask you, or at least discuss, is I think at some point during our chat earlier, before this episode started, you had mentioned you had a friend who lived in Singapore and then who moved to a different place, or an acquaintance. I'm not sure exactly. And that was an interesting thing, because maybe we can go over that a little bit, because I think that the takeaway from that is quite relevant.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think it goes straight into like what we were discussing just before. So last time I was in Egypt, whenever I was taking like a taxi or a bus or whatever, I was always like have a chat with the driver, however far I could go with my with my level of Arabic, which is not fluent. And one time there was this taxi driver who was saying that he had actually moved to Russia and then to the US, and that of course like his economic prospects like had improved by a lot compared to like his life in Egypt. But eventually after some years he decided to go back to Egypt, even though it meant going backwards, you know, financially, economically, lifestyle wise, etc. But he missed Egypt too much because there wasn't, whether it was in Russia or in the US, especially in the US, there wasn't that sense of community, of belonging. He said that like in Egypt, even if you don't have close family or friends, you're never going to be alone. He used the word ruh, which I love, which means soul in Arabic. He said, there is ruh here that I could never find in the US. And I really agree. And that like having been to Egypt myself, I've really felt it. And I haven't found this, I found it in other places, but in some places, not at all. So the guy was basically telling me, I'm happier having less money and being again a taxi driver. I forgot what job he had in the US, but something that was you know, bringing him like a nicer lifestyle. But he traded that gladly for just, you know, feeling surrounded and having a sense of, you know, community that he couldn't find in the US.
That's so beautiful. I love that story because it points to two things. First of all, people value different things in their lives. Completely different things in their lives. Some people are in places because they are looking for success, they're looking for money, they're looking for all kinds of things, and they go and find that in other places and they manage to build lives there. But if you value community, it's very difficult to get community if you cannot find it in the new place, you know. And that's totally, I mean, I respect that decision. I would not make it personally because I would try my best to make myself feel like home wherever I am before I leave. But I mean, if that's not happening for you, it's absolutely right for you to go back if you feel like you're missing a big part of yourself. That makes sense to me. But the second thing that I wanted to bring up because of this story was that maybe he didn't have somebody like you know, like a builder of community, like somebody who was a bridge between being a host as well as an expat. Somebody who is that person who is able to spread their sense of belonging to others. And this, I think, is why I feel like this episode should be dedicated to you. And we should kind of, everybody who has been to your event should be very grateful, and they should know it as well, really. Because this guy, if perhaps that gentleman had found some sense of community wherever he was, somebody who was organizing something, somebody who wasn't just feeling like people who come in are just immigrants and we shouldn't think about them, somebody who wants to bring somebody into the community, that sense of belonging, spreading that is the most beautiful thing I think you can do, you know? And I really appreciate you for everything you've done, not only in my life, but also in the rest of these incredible people that we know in their lives as well. So thank you for that.
It's my pleasure, truly.
Yeah.
I if I can impact people, anyone's life, even just a little bit positively, I'm happy, honestly.
You've done it, yeah.
I don't know, honestly, like if we don't do that, I don't know why the hell we're here, to be honest. So.
That's amazing. That's cute. But apart from that, also, shout out to you guys. If you are in the process of making friends, if you're in the process of trying to figure out where to go, if you're looking for a sense of belonging, I promise you there's people like Lise out there who are trying to build their communities and help you join. And if you're somebody like Lise, thank you. You know, if you're somebody who already belongs in a place, who has found her footing, who has found their sense of stability, and you are willing to expand that to other people also, thank you. You know, it's a lovely thing for all of us to do, to try and extend an arm towards each other. I think.
And I want to thank in return everyone who comes here or goes elsewhere and, you know, makes the effort to go and meet new people in a place that they don't know anyone, they don't know anything, they're afraid, they left everything behind. I think it takes a lot of courage. And I want to say thank you, like, to all the amazing energy I've received from all the people I've met over the years. It has contributed a lot to my life, for sure.
Amazing.
For sure.
Pats on the back all around. Yeah. All right. That's about it from our end. Please feel free to comment, to ask questions. If you're interested in learning more about any of these things, couch surfing or the overall kind of social life in Paris and how to kind of navigate that, please feel free to post those questions in the comments. Or feel free to DM me as well. I'm very happy to answer any questions I get from there. But apart from that, thank you so much, Lise, for coming.
Thank you for having me. I did.
I feel like this is a good episode. It was it followed a structure overall, and I tried to, but overall there was a good flow, I think, as well.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you everybody, and yeah, see you soon, and keep making friends. I think that's the crux of all of this. Keep making friends. Relationships are beautiful, and you are very, very valuable to all the people you meet. Okay, bye. Stop this.